Hey there, fellow bass players around the world. Today I'm changing the strings and doing a setup on my 2000 made in Mexico Fender Jazz Bass. And for replacement strings, I'm using these Fender Super 7250s that I have right here. Let's get right to it. Okay, don't mind my boy Ace in the shot, but before we get to it and before I take the old strings off, I just want to show you that I like to wind the string around the posts 2 times. I like to get 2 winds around the posts. Just wanted to show you that. And now I'm going to take the strings off. Alright, when I take the strings off, I like to loosen them a little bit at a time. I like to try to keep equal tension on the neck as I'm taking the strings off. And when I get the strings off, I'm going to clean the neck up a little bit because a lot of gunk from your fingers get on the neck. Okay, now that I got the strings all loose, I'm just going to take them off the post, lay them down. Now I'm just going to pull the strings through. Now before I restring the bass, I'm just going to clean up the neck a little bit. I use any old furniture polish, and I've been doing this for about 38 years. So I don't buy anything special. Just put a little polish on a clean rag, and I just clean the neck up a little bit. And you'll see all the dirt that comes off of it. You know, so you definitely, before you put new strings on, you want to clean that neck and get all that gunk from your fingers off. And again, before I put the strings on, I'm just going to clean the front of the body. I'm not going to do the back of the body because then my bridge will go flopping around over here, and we don't want that. I'm just going to clean up the body a little bit. Get a lot of gunk around the pickups too. Now we're just about ready to put the strings on. I'm going to start off with the E string, and I'm just going to run it through. Alright, now I'm going to stretch out the string, and I like to go up to the second tuner past the one I'm working on and cut it right there. And you want to get yourself a good set of wire cutters to do that. So I'm just going to go right here, and I'm going to cut it. Alright, now I'm going to put it in the slot of the tuner right there. Alright, I'm just going to wind it around like that a little bit. With my index finger, I'm going to hold it down there. I'm going to hold it down there. And now I'm just going to tighten it. And I'm not going to tighten it all the way. I'm going to leave it loose. So I'm going to stop right there for now. Alright, now I'm going to move on to the A string. And I'm just going to send it through. I'm going to stretch out the A string. Here's the tuning peg for the A string. I'm going to go to the second one, past that A string, which is the G. I'm just going to cut it right there. Alright, now I'm going to put the string down this little slot here, and at the bottom of the slot there's a hole. So it's nice and locked in that hole right now. I'm just going to wrap it around like this. Use my index finger to hold it down. Alright, now we're moving on to the D string. Pull it through. Alright, so now we're working on the D string right here. I'm going to stretch the string out, and I'm going to cut it at the top of the headstock right here. Alright. Now again, I'm putting it in the slot, making sure it locks into the hole at the bottom. And now we have the string tree on the Fender Jazz, and we have to go under that. And now, as I hold it down with my index finger, I'm just going to tighten it. Again, we're just going to leave it nice and loose, no tension yet. All right, now we're doing the G string. Just going to run it through. Make sure it sits right. Let it settle there, stretch it out. Okay, for the G string, I'm just going to snip a tiny bit off the very end of the string. Again, put it in the slot. Find the little hole that it sits in, lock it in place. Wrap it around. Go under the string tree there. And I'm just going to hold it down with my index finger as I wind it. Okay, now we have all 4 strings on. We've got it secure around the string tree. Everything's sitting in the nut properly. And now we're just going to tune up. Alright, now before I tune up, I just want to put a little bit more tension on the strings. As you can see, they're all like rubber bands. So I want to bring the tension up on each one of them equally. That's the way I like to do it. Okay, now I'm ready to tune. And I'm going to use a TC Electronic Polytune that I have right here. My good buddy Dave gave me this when I was playing in a band with him in Florida. So that's what I'm going to use right now. I'm just going to place it down in front of me. And I'm going to tune to A440 standard tuning. So I'm just going to bring that A up. And again, I'm going to bring them all up at a little bit at a time. I don't want one string to be so off that there's too much tension. That's the way I like to do it. Alright, so back to the A string. Okay, I'm going to bring that up slowly. And now I'm going to do the E. And do the D. I'm doing the G. All right, now you can see I'm in tune here. A, D, G, and E. Might be slightly out of tune, but we're still going to make adjustments. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bend the strings in different spots on the neck. Stretch them out a little bit. I'm going to tune up again. And it went slightly out, but it's pretty much right there. Okay, so now we're in tune. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the curvature of the neck. Before I do that, I want to make sure it was in tune. So we're tuned to A440 standard tuning. We're all in tune. Now we're going to check the curvature of the neck. To check the curvature of the neck, we need a couple of things. We need the tuner, of course. We need an Allen wrench. Some people call it a hex key. But one of these, in case we need to make an adjustment to the truss rod. We need a feeler gauge. This is going to check the gap from the 8th fret to the bottom of the E string. I'll show you how to do that in a second. And we need a capo. If you don't have these, I'll list all these things and where you can get them in the description box below. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is put a capo on the 1st fret. Okay, now that I have the capo in position, I'm just going to tighten it. Okay, I'm going to take my feeler gauge and I'm going to pull out the one that says 0.015. That's 0.015 inches. I'm going to press the E string down to the very last fret, just like that. And with the feeler gauge, I'm going to come in to the top of the 8th fret and measure the gap between the top of the 8th fret and the bottom of the E string. Now that looks pretty good. I might tweak the truss rod just a tiny bit just to close the gap a little bit. Now what I like to do is I like to take the capo off, and now I'm going to make an adjustment to the truss rod, right? I'm going to put the hex key in. I'm going to find the hole, make sure the key is in there good and tight, and I'm going to give it about 1/4 of a turn. I don't need much to make this adjustment. So just like that. Okay, now that I made that adjustment, I'm going to tune up again, and you can see I'm a little flat. Okay, now that I'm tuned up, I'm going to do the whole process again to check to make sure I got it right. Alright, now I'm going to do the whole process again. I have the capo on the first fret, I'm pressing down on the last fret over here, and I'm using the feeler gauge to check the gap at the 8th fret. And right there, that feels pretty good. Okay, now in my case, I had a little curve to the neck. It was a little concave, right? It was kind of like that. So to adjust the neck, I turned the hex wrench and the truss rod clockwise. Okay. Now, if your neck was too straight and your strings were laying flat to the frets, and you needed a little curve, and you needed some relief, you would go counterclockwise with the truss rod. Now I'm going to adjust my string height, and this is different for each player. You know, what I like, you might not like. So this is entirely up to you on how you do it. I'm just going to adjust my A and D string a little bit. I'm going to lower them a little bit, so I'm going to show you how I do that. And then we're going to check for fret buzz. All right, now I'm just going to lower the A string and the D string. And I'm going to do that by taking this little hex key and going counterclockwise. I'm going to do the same to the D string. And now once I get doing this, I am going to tune it up again, and then we're going to check for buzzing. I'm going to just tune up that A string and D string now. First we'll do the A. I'll do the D. Now I'm just going to check for string rattle and buzz. And I'm just going to fret each note here, go up the whole neck, make sure there's no rattle or buzz. So far, so good. Okay, no buzz, no rattle, so we're good. Now we're going to check on intonation. To check intonation, I'm going to hit an E harmonic 12th fret E string. And I'm going to compare that to when I fret an E 12th fret E string. Okay, so I'll try to hold up the tuner so you can see. When I hit the harmonic, I'm hitting E. Okay, now when I'm fretting E, I'm sharp. So my intonation is a little bit off. So I am going to have to pull the saddle back further. Now you can see when I fret that E, I'm a little sharp. So what I'm going to do with a Phillips head screwdriver is I'm going to turn this screw clockwise, and that's going to draw the saddle back a little bit. All right. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a turn. Okay, now when I play the open E harmonic 12th fret, we have an E, and now when I fret that 12th fret E, we have an E. So they both match up. So now the intonation is good. Okay, that was pretty easy. We changed the strings and we did a setup, and now we're good to go. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Visit me at stevekonbass.com. And if you'd like private lessons with me, just shoot me an email. Enjoy those new strings. I'll see you.